Allora, oggi mi sono vestito elegante perché ho una bella ospite con me. Welcome to Lauren Turton! Hello! Allora, qui nessuno capisce ancora niente, adesso spiego tutto. Lauren è un'amica, è una grossa, per me, influencer, educatrice, business coach nel mondo Web3. E ho avuto il piacere di averla qua ospite perché per una serie di circostanze oggi è venuta a Rimini, quindi è venuta a trovarmi. Ho detto vieni ospite, come guest on my podcast to speak about culture Web3 together. And she said yes, let's do it, so let's do it!
Let's do it!
Amici di Siamo Tutti Non Fungibili, we are all not fungible. Siamo qua, persone americani, e ho il piacere di avere, come dicevo, Lauren con noi. E ti chiedo, Lauren, di raccontarci chi sei, cosa fai, così il nostro pubblico ti conoscerà e impariamo un qualcosa di nuovo oggi con te.
Well, thank you so much for having me here. It's such an honor, and I'm so excited. This is my first time doing an interview for an Italian audience.
Yes!
Which means so much to me because I've spent the last few years traveling from the US to Italy, so I'm so excited to connect with you and your audience. A little bit about me. Hello, ciao.
Ciao.
My name is Lauren Turton, and I'm a business coach, podcast host, and I'm also a consultant in the Web3 space. Before I got into Web3 a year and a half ago, I was a full-time business coach, and I was featured in Forbes for the work that I did. And about a year and a half ago, I found out about NFTs, and I said, wait a minute, this is the next big thing. This is the next shift in technology, and I need to get informed and get involved so I'm not left behind like I was when social media came out. And so I went hard into the space, and one of the things that was birthed during my first months in the Web3 space was a podcast called Freedom with NFTs. Now, I'm not a technical person, and that's something I was really self-conscious about, but I realized that I could provide value to the Web3 NFT space by showing up and honing in on skills that I had from my previous life. And that's how the Freedom with NFTs podcast was born. Most notable so far on the show has been Gary Vaynerchuk. I was able to interview him in real life in November 2021 in New York City. It was such an honor to have him on the show. And since then, I've also consulted on several Web3 projects. I've also done a lot of coaching in the space, and I've spoken at NFT NYC and several other big events about a project that I executed at the restaurant that I used to co-own in San Diego, California. We leverage NFTs to create a customer loyalty program. So that's a little bit about me.
Allora, diciamo, Lauren, lo rivelo, è la fidanzata di un mio carissimo amico riminese che salutiamo. Ciao Francesco. Hello Francesco! Voglio approfittare di Lauren che appunto ha fatto tantissime attività di educazione, ha partecipato a tantissimi eventi, tantissimo network, è stata di recente anche a un evento internazionale per le donne nel mondo Web3 ed NFT, e voglio proprio parlare della curiosità, perché è un tema che è legato proprio a un'attitudine, quella di imparare e capire perché è importante oggi imparare questi temi.
Absolutely. I think it's really, really important to get informed and get involved. You'll see that on my website and you'll see it in my email signature, because it is crucial for us as people in the society that is moving very, very fast to always make sure that we're educating ourselves. When you think about things that are happening around the world, you can think about groups of people and cultures that don't have access to electricity, that don't have access to internet. So if you're someone that does have access to these things and you're hearing about new information, new technology, then why wouldn't you want to get informed and get involved? And I like zooming out and thinking about the big picture here is, even if it doesn't directly impact your life right now, education that you might take in, what happens if you have children and you tell your children that information and then they take action on it? It can impact generations to come just by you saying, you know what, I'm going to learn about this and I'm going to figure this out. The other thing to think about is look at history. Look at what has happened when the internet came out, when social media came out. The people who decided to get informed, to get involved, and be at the forefront of that, they were a part of some incredible things. And that's literally what's happening right now. And a quick lesson for you, in case you don't know, Web 1 was when the internet came out, Web 2 was when social media came out, and right now we're in Web 3, which is proof of ownership on the blockchain. And it's literally happening right now. Also, not to mention AI, everything that's happening with AI right now. Like, we're literally sitting on history. So why wouldn't you say, you know what? I'm going to take the time, an hour a day, and listen to a YouTube channel, listen to a podcast, find a community to get involved in. It's really important.
Yeah, I'm agree with you. I'm absolutely agree, and I did this with your podcast actually. So for me, it was one of the first education step to join and understand the opportunity, the culture, and what was happening right now, because it's fantastic to put yourself and be part of something that grow together.
Yes.
And this is the magic of Web3 for me.
Absolutely.
It's amazing, and it's the first time that I see something the digital like this.
I agree. A big difference in the Web3 space than what we've seen in the Web2 space is everything we've seen in the last 10 years is so super competitive. Gatekeeping, not sharing of information, and something that I've absolutely loved about the Web3 space is people are willing to help each other out, share information, and say, hey, take a look at this, hey, do that, hey, do this, and really help each other. And that's something that, again, is really special.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you want to be a part of it?
Yeah, I agree. Hai intervistato tantissime persone importanti, prima hai citato Gary Vee, ma come lui tantissimi entusiasti nel mondo NFT. Non li voglio chiamare guru né esperti perché è talmente giovane, quindi però hai portato veramente, hai fatto tanta esperienza, hai condiviso tanti concetti. Qual è stato il più grande insegnamento rispetto a quello che è stato il tuo percorso di podcast?
Thank you so much for this question. So I've done over 40 interviews for the Freedom with NFTs podcast, and I have it broken up into 2 seasons, season 1 and season 2. And as you mentioned, and I said earlier in my intro, I was able to interview Gary Vee. And something that I'm going to share with everyone, this is a takeaway for anyone who is trying something new, who is putting themselves out there, and the word is resilience. Resilience has been what I've learned through interviewing so many people on this podcast episode. Even with getting the interview with Gary Vee, it wasn't like I just landed an interview with Gary Vee. There was a lot of work that went behind me getting that interview with him. And there was a lot of resilience with putting out 40 episodes. That's a lot of work, a lot of content. And it's not like I was making a lot of money off of this. I was doing this because I knew that I was having a hard time finding the answers to those questions, and that other people were too. And this goes for any projects that we're trying to do. Is you're going to face roadblocks, you're going to face challenges, and you have to have resilience with anything that you're doing. So that's been my biggest learning lesson with the podcast, is resilience. And then in regards to things that I've learned from the different people that I've interviewed on different parts of their journey, from NFT lawyers, tax consultants, marketing experts, project founders, I mean, you name it. I've had everyone on Freedom with NFTs. The thing that I've learned from all of my guests is they all have curiosity, and they all have that spark, that earning to learn new things. And not only that, but to take action. And so that's been so inspiring for me on all these interviews, is as I'm talking to people, hearing their stories, hearing their background from where they were and to where they are now. It's interesting and fascinating, that spark that they have and that drive that they're taking action on to get involved in something new.
Il tema della curiosità, del fatto di agire per, non soltanto per noi, ma anche per le persone che ci stanno intorno, perché poi si vanno a costruire cose che toccano anche, sono dei touch point verso l'esterno, verso quelli che ci circondano. Quindi il tema anche di, vedo la tua maglietta, grow up, no thanks. La maglietta parla di diventare grandi o di mantenere quello spirito bambinesco di curiosità.
I purposely wore this shirt for this interview. You know, it says, grow up, no thanks. And I usually wear this shirt on my birthday. And I think it's important for us to have that childlike curiosity, being open to all possibilities and things that are happening around us, and not being closed off. I know where I'm from in the United States, I'm from the Midwest of the country. That's where I spent the first years of my life. It's not as common as the big cities in the US for people to move out of the state, to start their own business. things like that. But I've always been somebody that knew I was going to do that. I knew at a very young age, I'm moving to California. I knew at a very young age that I wanted to have my own business. But there was a lot that I had to overcome to make those things happen. And I've always had that mindset of having an open mind, being curious, and finding out and exploring about what's happening in the world. I know if I look back on my life and the things that I've been involved in, I was a career bartender. I worked in bars and restaurants all through my 20s. And if I wouldn't have made that step to get a new job in a new industry, which at the time was event production, I would still be bartending. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But I would still be doing that occupation. And even with event production, I did that for 5 years. And then I said, wait a minute. I'm working in the physical. I am physically working. And if I continued in event production, I will be physically working for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
I've heard about people who work online. I've heard about these people. And then I learned about having an online-based business. And I taught myself. And soon I found myself helping others. And same with Web3. I said, wait a minute. This is the next change in technology. I'm going to learn about this too. And so look at what has happened in my life because I kept saying, oh, I'm going to learn about that. I'm going to learn about that. I'm going to learn about that. And having that childlike, open-minded mentality.
When I started to look at this NFT world, and it was like overwhelmed. Oh my God.
It's so overwhelming.
Where I can start? And one of the first person I phoned was you. Okay. How can I start? Where I can start this ecosystem that is growing always more fast because there is Metaverse, there is everybody from the little brand for the big brand that
Yes.
are going down with the NFT project. So, okay, slow down. What do you suggest?
Absolutely.
What do you suggest to start also psychologically because there are a lot of negative. We see a lot of scam. Lately, they scam also Kevin Rose that he was one of the biggest name. So it's very dangerous. It's very risky also for the mentality to trade and get the greedy stuff or the FOMO.
Absolutely.
What do you suggest to the people that want to start something?
When you first learn about NFTs and Web3 and you start to get that overwhelm and you realize, wait a minute, I'm in this a little bit too deep. Take a step back and find a resource that you trust. So for example, your show or my podcast, and only commit 1 hour a day.
Yeah.
And say, I'm just going to do this 1 hour a day. And this is coming from experience. I have gone down the rabbit hole where I was spending 12 hours a day. That is not healthy. Not healthy. Things get real weird when you do stuff like that. So just say 1 hour a day and then find a community that you resonate with and that you can trust and ask questions to. Also, Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces are a great way to connect with other people and explore. But again, limit your time, only an hour or so a day, so that you're not doing too much too quick. And then eventually say, all right, maybe I can add on 30 minutes, another 30 minutes, etc.
Yeah.
And then the other piece of advice that I have is don't think that you need to be something that you're not. So I got real weird at one point because I thought that I had to become a coder. I thought I had to become a developer. And I started looking into all of that, and my brain just does not work that way.
Yeah.
So very quickly, I was like, get me out of here. And I realized I didn't have to become something I'm not. And I honed in on what I love, my gifts, my talents. Obviously, I like to talk.
Yeah.
So that's where the podcast was born.
Yeah.
And that's how I've been able to find success in this space. And then also finding people that you can trust and become close with, that they're good at what they're good at. So when you do have a tech question, you can go to your tech person. When you do have a community management question on Discord, because you don't have to operate Discord at a high capacity, find someone who knows Discord. Start getting a team of people around you so that you're not trying to take too much on. Because it's overwhelming and it can get real weird.
Yeah, absolutely. Amazing. So guys, seguite Lauren sul suo podcast, metteremo in descrizione tutti i link, è veramente un starting point importante che può aiutare tantissime persone perché nei suoi episodi ha veramente parlato con builder internazionali che hanno condiviso tantissime esperienze e credo che lo è stato anche per me, credo che lo sarà anche per tutti voi. Thank you so much. It was amazing, and I wish we can do another episode maybe in 2 months.
Let's do it in 2 months when I'm back in Rimini. No, thank you so much for having me, and I'm so excited to have connected with you, connect with your audience. If you ever need anything, just get a hold of me on all social media platforms. My handle is @LaurenTurton or @LaurenTurton_. And then Freedom with NFTs, make sure to give the podcast a listen. Thank you so much.
Yeah.